So, The Owl House premiered yesterday. Came out on the app first, then premiered on Disney Channel a little later. It's an interesting first episode of Owl House because I don't feel like it's representative of what the show will eventually be. Because basically when this girl goes into this other witch dimension, magic dimension or whatever, you kind of get the idea that she's going to train to be a witch, but none of that is going to be in this one. So I sort of like that about the pilot because you don't see a lot of pilots for animated shows being very different. That's more of a drama show thing, frankly. They kind of like do it very differently and then it sort of sets up the rest of the show. And that's basically what Owl House did. And that's actually incredibly risky. I'm surprised they did that, frankly. And I sort of like that a lot about it. Because it set up the world. There was a lot of world building. There was a lot of references. And they sort of did the Luke Skywalker, John Connor, and Terminator 2 thing with the main protagonist, Luz. Luz? Is it really Luz? Whatever. But I actually did not remember her name. But she's interesting. She likes like fantasy books and action figure, all this stuff. And she's very eccentric. Clearly something that most of the target audience is going to like. I did feel like they used her to kind of introduce this world and understand all these things that were going on. I really liked how they used that. I did watch this with Sophie. I thought this would be more of her bag, and if it had been more about the little girl learning to be a witch, I think it would have been. But she was like not into it and found some of it scary. Not too scary that we had to shut it off. It didn't seem like she was into it, but according to my wife, when she saw an ad when they were at the Disney store today, she actually positively said, "I watched that with my dad." So I think maybe she'll turn around on Owl House. I don't know if people care. Ida, the voice work of Wendy Malick. Damn, that was a good voiceover. That was a good voice role. That was really great. I really liked that. I thought she did an amazing performance. I was like instantly into her. I liked Alex Hirsch in this as well. I think this is going to be a cool show, but I do think this felt like it actually sort of reminded me of Infinity Train, and I noticed Kevin from the Round Table brought up in his review that it reminded him of fantasy books, and I would agree with that. But it reminds me of what Infinity Train reminds me of complex, weirder sci-fi books that no one ever cares about anymore. When sci-fi was more about ideas and writing and things like that. It was more about ideas and less splash and things and weirder changes that like wouldn't be cool or commercial. And this felt like that a lot. And I like that about it, but clearly its airtime is later. Like I watched The Rocketeer with Soph, and that's more of her speed. This is clearly for older kids. And if you're watching this with a kid, I would say just make sure they're in older elementary school. I just don't think, as of right now, from the first one. But I also feel like this is not representative of what the show's going to be. So it's sort of a weird one. It's a good one to start with. It gives me a lot of faith in them as creators to do it this way. But I don't think, like, when I've seen 5 episodes, they're going to be like, oh, that's the episode you show first. That's often why networks play things out of order. It's cool that Disney Channel didn't do that, but maybe it was not a good idea because you could, just get into the show. I felt like I got into the show, but I've heard from other people that like it was harder for kids to get into the show. So maybe that'll hurt it overall. But I really did like the Owl House. The animation was really fluid and beautiful and interesting. It blew up this whole world and made me like sort of fall in love with everything. And I was just happy, really just happy with the show. It really looked like this cool, weird cult thing that we really needed. And I felt like, I haven't gotten to keep up with everything on Disney Channel, but this is something I'm definitely going to set my DVR for. I think Owl House opens up a whole new weird cult thing. I don't know if it's going to like actually hit. I'm a little like confused if it will or not. I feel like it's probably something that should probably be on Cartoon Network, but I'm curious if now the new leadership over Disney Animation with Jennifer Lee, I believe that's her name, this maybe is like more of her thing that she's kind of spearheading, whereas Lasseter was more like, the Gravity Falls other era, which I sounds like he's just signing off on them, but maybe she's like, let's do more of a culty Stranger thing to get more demographics in. And I definitely felt that about this show. I think Owl House has a lot of promise and interesting things with it, but I would like to see where the show progresses and what it becomes. But I think this is still a good way to start off and shows a lot of faith in the audience, probably maybe too much faith for really little ones, but for me and for someone enjoying this who's older, who's the target demographic, and the one they made it for, then I think that it'll work really well, and I think they'll really love this show and the risks it takes, because it takes it as kind of like a fun kids fantasy thing, whereas Infinity Train, it felt like you're not sure what's going to go and it could get scary and things like that. It feels like with Owl House, it's kind of being protective and will grow as the protagonists and as the readers grow, much like Harry Potter and things like that. So that's how I feel right now. But again, this is only really the review of the first episode, but I think it's very much an animation nerd kind of show that you kind of just want to fall into this cult already. And I think if you're able to do that in the first episode, that's pretty damn successful, because I'm already really excited, and looking at that beautiful animation and that crazy world just makes me want to just continue to see what's going to be happening at the Owl House.